All right, everyone. Steve Metrics here of No Debate Sports. And today we're talking about a lot of NFL stuff. We got, what do we got? We got running backs and wide receivers wanting out. We have movement going on with the New York Jets, possibly something going on there within the story of Aaron Rodgers and Sean Payton and all that drama. Seems like there's something else actually going on that I noticed at training camp there. So we'll be talking about that. And two teams really took big hits over the last few days. One team lost the majority of its starting running back core, and another team lost the majority of its wide receiving core. So you got a lot of things moving on there. So the big story of the day is definitely what's going on with the Colts. So you got Jonathan Taylor with Indianapolis, who is the youngest player coming up on a rookie contract that has the leverage to wield against the ownership of, hey, I deserve to be paid more. I'm a young up and coming running back. I've done really well for the team, and your offense runs through me. Without me in the offense, you don't do so hot. So, yes, in the previous years, whether it's been Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz, that's taken a lot of pressure off of Jonathan Taylor. But now this will go into a season where Jonathan Taylor will be the focal point of defenses playing against Colts. So, with a new young quarterback like Anthony Richardson, he needs the benefit of an elite caliber player like Jonathan Taylor to take off some of that pressure. So without that, then you're going to see a lot more cover two, cover three against Anthony Richardson, and it's going to be a real rough one for the Colts to start if that's the case. So big things going on there, and it seems like Jonathan Taylor is requesting a trade, and the Colts are possibly threatening with not putting him on a injury designation for an injury that Jonathan Taylor claims he doesn't even have in a back injury. So pretty wild stuff you got going on there. It seems like Jonathan Taylor is more than likely going to be playing somewhere sometime soon, but it's pretty messy what's going on with Colts ownership. It's not a good situation. I don't think it's a well-run franchise, and it's really shown its ugly side of management these days. So you got that going on right now, and I guess another player that is not being as much discussed as Jonathan Taylor's displeasure is a wide receiver on a team that, in my eyes, is going to be tanking, and that's pretty unfortunate because to me, Devontae Adams is one of the best receivers in the game, and it feels like the Raiders are essentially positioning themselves to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season. And it seems like we're not going to budge, me being a Raider fan. It seems like the Raiders are not going to budge on anything for Josh Jacobs. They're going to let him sit out, and we're going to be fully content with that. Jimmy Garoppolo is not that much of an upgrade from Derek Carr. Essentially, he might not even be an upgrade from Derek Carr. But what happened there is it's definitely a cost savings measure for a player that knows how to run the offense. So you have Devontae Adams there. He knows that this team isn't going to be that great. And a guy like that wants to be winning a championship. He's getting paid very well, and he wants to be competing for a championship. So it seems like over the last 24 hours or so, there's been some discontent with Devontae Adams and the Raiders, especially in training camp over the weekend. Jimmy Garoppolo is still trying to figure out the chemistry with Adams. He's had some throws that have been right on him and other throws that have been completely overthrown. So Devontae Adams and Jimmy G are not having that same mindset that Derek Carr and Devontae Adams had. So now it's looking like it's going to be pretty tough with Devontae and the Raiders. and this might be something that starts to weave its way through and possibly positions Devontae to go to another team. Um, he definitely has connections with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Garrett Wilson just went down over the last few days with an ankle injury. And then you have the New Orleans Saints. And yes, they have big time playmaker Michael Thomas, but Devontae Adams is better than Michael Thomas. So there is that possibility down there. And I guess the big question here is how much would teams be willing to give up for Devontae Adams? We know it essentially costs the Raiders a first round pick and a second round pick in order to acquire him. So now that it's clearly obvious that he is one of the best receivers in the game, that it's going to be pretty much just as expensive as it was back then to get him now. But now it's probably even going to be a first round pick and another first round pick, considering that the only thing that kept that trade from going back to back first round picks for Green Bay was that it was paperwork not getting filed on time. So because they were behind on that, that's how it fell into a second round pick, and the Raiders were able to keep their first round pick for this past draft, this past March. So that's what you got going on there. And now it's it is what it is. But I feel like that's an ugly situation that's going to start brewing with the Raiders. And especially at this point where you see a receiver that is just as dominant as Devontae, and you're not getting him the weapons he needs. So looks like we got a viewer here. Red Sister 1. Yeah, where's DJ Triggs? Yeah, so he is joining us here shortly, and he is taking care of the kids, making sure they're set and good to go for the night. And boom, what do you know? You asked for him, and here he is.
I've been here for that whole conversation.
Oh, bummer. Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I was like waving at my screen. I'm like, look at me.
Oh yeah. It's just that when I see you, it's like we're ghosts down there in the lower left hand corner of the screen. We can't see each other.
Right.
Cool. So yeah, I was talking about how there's definitely some disgruntledness going on with Jonathan Taylor and the Colts. And then I brought up another big name that I've heard rumblings about. I'm not seeing anything as dramatized on the big time media networks, but I've definitely gotten wind that Devontae Adams is another player who is just as upset about the team that he plays for, and that he's not really getting anything made to go his way to compete for a championship. I mean, if this were the NBA, guys like that would pretty much find their way to a team and find their way to a team that they want to play for. And there'd be compensation for that.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, I don't know.
Yeah, the guys in the NBA are starting to get in trouble for that. I don't know if you heard.
What's going on?
So, Dame Lillard asked to be traded. He couldn't do it by himself, quote unquote.
Sure.
Well, the players union was scolded by the NBA and told, they had like a meeting where they told basically the top people of the union that, hey, if you guys start doing this trade to only one team and holding teams up hostage, like, we're going to shut that down. And
okay.
Like, because so far Dame is kind of the first guy to do that, where he's like, oh, I only want to go to Miami. And he leaked it out. He and his agent leaked it out. So everybody in the world knows, oh, Dame's going to go to Miami. Well, Miami doesn't have the assets to get a Dame Lillard. And that's why the deal hasn't been done. I mean, look at the Rudy Gobert. They got like 4 first-round picks. And he's not very good. Like, he's not Dame Lillard. So, like, Miami doesn't have that many picks because they traded a lot away for Jimmy Butler. And like the moves that they've made, they don't have the space because they signed guys like Tyler Hero, and his contract's about to kick in, where he went from the rookie scale to like 24 million. So yeah, right. So they made that deal and now they're stuck in it because Portland doesn't want Tyler Hero. And yeah, I mean, you could fit him somewhere, but like Portland has a ton of guards and a lot of their wing players are super young. Shaden Sharp, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, like they're set. Their starting
Yeah.
lineup is basically set. So why would they want a $20 million deal guy on a team that has a bunch of rookie contracts? So like feeding that back in with Jonathan Taylor or Devontae Adams and guys like that, it's like you can't just get whatever you want because teams aren't going to just let you do that. I mean, that's probably what
Yeah.
happened to Dalvin Cook, and that's probably why he got cut because clearly nobody wants him.
I mean, I feel like there's still some what's the word for this? Like it's not like a phenomena of having this many quality running backs that are out there on the open market and none of them are getting paid. And now the youngest up and comer in Jonathan Taylor is basically saying, "Hey, I hate the team that I play for, and they're not going to give me the money I deserve." And it's weird. There's like basically 5 of them that I can think of off the top of my head that are basically all being undercut, and the entire league as a whole is saying that they don't want to pay a player of that caliber, especially a Dalvin Cook who's top notch. But then you have Jonathan Taylor coming up, and by our metrics of bona fide numbers, Saquon Barkley is clearly an elite level player, and they barely worked out a deal with him. So it's pretty bizarre to see this happen. But I do think though that whereas a Dame Lillard who really only wants that leverage to go to one team, that a guy like a Devontae Adams would almost have the leverage to say, hey, figure out something to get me to one of these other teams. Get me to the Saints or get me to the New York Jets, or if there's even a way for him to even somehow get to back to Green Bay. I saw another story of connecting him to the New England Patriots. I don't know what's going on with all these stories that keep connecting guys to the Patriots, but man, that team stinks.
Because they have
So,
money. They have money. That is the
okay.
big deal. Because you remember not Devontae, D Hop
Yep.
he wanted a contract. Like he wasn't just gonna be like, oh, I can come in for the minimum and do whatever you want. Like, and that's kind of what the Jets were looking for was like, hey, take a pay cut and come win. And he was like, no, I'm good. I want my money. And look, Tennessee's not very good. They don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball. So it's like,
Yeah.
why would you go to Tennessee? Because he wanted the money. And yeah, they have a shot at winning. Don't get me wrong. They've been in the playoffs the last couple of years, but he definitely did that for the money. And that's why the Patriots kept
Exactly.
coming up.
Gotcha. Yeah, they definitely have money to spend. I remember when I was making my part of the DeAndre Hopkins Dalvin Cook video, and I noticed the Patriots were on that list. I circled a bunch of teams that were kind of lower in cap value, like the Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins, Philadelphia Eagles, that didn't have as much cap space as New England. But I was still shocked that he ended up going to Tennessee because, like you said, that that team right now has the worst quarterback situation of pretty much the entire NFL. There's probably a few that are above them. Yeah, I'll put the Carolina Panthers and probably the Indianapolis Colts right up there with them. But yeah, it just sucks seeing a guy like DeAndre Hopkins not playing with the Cleveland Browns or the Philadelphia Eagles. That's just kind of how I feel about it. And now it's that same kind of feeling going on with Devontae Adams and the Raiders that there's a quarterback there that just doesn't have the firepower. At least, even as wild as Derek Carr is, he has firepower. With Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a lot of short game, mid range kind of working the field, and there's not really that true deep threat. So I'm just kind of wondering how this is really going to work with the Raiders, and plus a team that has no Josh Jacobs. But I don't know. I still don't think no Josh Jacobs isn't the worst thing in the world. Despite that, for us, he ranked as our number one running back last season at No Debate Sports. I just think that Zamir White, being who he is out of Georgia, I want to say, that he's an excellent running back that just hasn't been seen yet. And the Raiders have had pretty good batteries of backup running back and emergency running backs on their roster. So we'll see how that goes there. But I do feel that passing game is taking a step back. I mean, I liked Mac Hollins as well. I think the Falcons got him for an absolute steal. And it's like they're bringing in Patriots guys, but I just don't think Jacoby Myers is all that. And we'll see. Like, I've been pretty unimpressed with all the Patriot wide receivers that aren't Tyquan Thornton. So that's kind of where I am at with that.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots, they have gotten it wrong. Like, every skill position player in the last, 5 years has just been horrible. Like, you can't even make it up. They're just bad. And then they went out and got, all those tight ends, and they were all horrible too. And it was like,
exactly. Yeah, they really swung and missed, and they spent a ton of money on those. One of them was Jonnu Smith, and the other was Hunter Henry. And Hunter Henry was still kind of like mediocre, average. Let's see what he is without Phillip Rivers, essentially. And now you're seeing what it is, and it's just kind of Robert Tonyan-ish. Yeah. So it's nothing much to really be that excited about. So I'm kind of wondering what's going to go on there. And even though Bill O'Brien is Mac Jones's coordinator from Alabama, I still don't think that offense is going to have what it needs. Ramondre Stevenson is a very strong back, but I don't know. I just don't think that defense or that offense is going to have much going on, and that could put the defense out there way more than they should be.
Yeah. And no matter how good your defense is, if they're out on the field way too much and get gassed, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Exactly. So speaking of guys getting gassed, yeah, like, hey, like, it happens. But two teams absolutely got gassed over the last 48 hours, the weekend. We saw the whole running back core for the Seattle Seahawks, their number one and their number two, completely go down. They're going to both be down for quite a while. Kenneth Walker has some groin injury going on, and those pretty much stick with you for quite a while. And Zach Charbonnet definitely banged up his shoulder, so that's going to be a pretty substantial injury. They got guys behind them, but for a team that loves to run the ball as hard as Seattle does, you really wonder what's going on with that team.
I feel like every year, one of their running backs at least goes down right away. Wasn't it Walker last year?
It was no, actually, last year it was Chris Carson, and then he ended up, he fully retired. Rashad Penny was there as well, battling injury, and then essentially the young guy that you drafted from Michigan State, Kenneth Walker, came in, but even Kenneth Walker ended up getting hurt as well as the season went on. So it's a pretty tough position they have up there. I mean, their offensive line is improving, but man, those running backs up there really take a beating. So they got DJ Dallas, I know, and I believe behind that they have another rookie running back. I think it's like something Shoemaker or Scudamaker or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I wonder too if you got Dalvin Cook out there thinking, maybe Seattle might be a team to go to. Yeah, I mean, they're close.
Kenny McIntosh.
Kenny McIntosh.
I have no idea who that is. Not gonna lie to you.
Gotcha. Yeah, neither do I. But that's kind of an interesting situation where it's like, hey, what if Kenny McIntosh starts to play his way up the roster as these guys are out? I mean, guaranteed minimum, these guys are going to be out for at least 3 weeks moving forward. Shoulder injury is no joke. I mean, if it's already hurting and then you start the season and hurt it again, boom, you're really going to be out. And a groin injury,
Oh,
that's a long injury to come back from.
Kenny
So
Kenny
yeah.
McIntosh is a 7th-round pick from Georgia.
Ooh,
So at
there you
least he's
go.
got some pedigree behind him. But I've never heard of him.
Exactly. I've never heard of the guy either, but yeah, for him coming out of Georgia, that's a pretty cool pick. That's a good situation they got up there. I remember I was watching NFL Plus's the reviews for each of the teams, and Cynthia Freeland did the Seattle Seahawks, and that tape on Kenny McIntosh with Georgia is pretty cool. Like you see him definitely doing a lot of stiff arms, putting a lot of guys on the dirt, making really nice moves, kind of Josh Jacobs kind of style. So that was a pretty cool image to actually see of that guy. But yeah, all of the videos that she covered of those teams post draft and each and every one of their draft picks gave you a real good look at how these teams are orchestrated and how, like, what is the focus and what is the mindset behind these teams. So with Seattle, it is purely based on really improving that defense and really gaining time of possession. So yeah, now that you brought up Kenny McIntosh, Georgia and Seattle, now it's starting to come around, and they might have something there. I mean, if you got guys going down, plus like Rashad Penny used to be on that team, and that guy always had a bad luck with injuries. You really got to go to the well and just keep plugging guys in and see who can actually stay healthy for you.
I don't know if you noticed that the question that made me laugh and giggle like a
Oh,
little
okay.
schoolgirl. Uh,
Yeah.
do the Raiders, if they would they improve if they signed Colin Kaepernick to fight for the
Yeah.
#1 spot?
I believe that tryout actually occurred. What was it like early this spring or something? Like there was something with Kaepernick and the Raiders that did happen, but
It
they
was.
need, yeah, it was like they need something with juice. Like there is no juice at the running back position, and I get the feeling like these teams could essentially be like the Miami Dolphins and just play a ton of zone coverage and figure out what is the general mindset of the Raiders, especially if you play them early in the season, you don't know what's going on, and put a lot of guys back there to figure out what are they doing on in the air with Devontae Adams. And then if you feel like things aren't happening, then just put more guys in the box. And when they try to flush out Zamir White at you, you make them pay for that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's not a good situation they got going there. I mean, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo, who no longer has the wheels like he did when he first burst out onto the scene with Patriots. It's a very pocket passer oriented player like we've been seeing over the last few years with San Francisco. So yeah, there needs to be something, and I really don't like the quarterback we drafted out of Purdue. I don't even know the guy's name, but like I've been saying, I mean, the one quarterback who really fell throughout the draft ended up finding his way to Cleveland. And that's a team that is pretty well situated with their quarterback with Deshaun Watson. So it seems like all the other teams who tried to swing for the fences and grab some kind of mid to late round quarterback, you better not have those guys play this year because it's not going to go well. So it's kind of how
Yeah,
I'm feeling.
you got Aiden O'Connell, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
from Purdue, right? Um,
Yeah, and he's in training camp wearing the number 4 red jersey, and it looks like we see the ghost of Christmas past of Derek Carr out there.
he he was number 7 on my top 10 quarterbacks. I compared him to Nick Foles. Um,
Okay.
he's not an athlete, So check that one
Okay.
off for Colin Kaepernick there. Uh,
Yep.
and all I said was he reads the defense well. He's a bit overconfident, which makes him throw a lot of interceptions, at least when he was
Okay.
at Purdue. So
Sure.
that really doesn't translate to the NFL to me, especially in such a athletic quarterback mold now. So to
Yeah.
be honest, Colin Kaepernick might be better than Aiden O'Connell. And you
Yeah.
you skipped over a guy on your depth chart, Brian Hoyer.
Oh yeah, Brian Hoyer. Yeah, that's not going to go
He's
well
no
either.
athlete.
Yeah. So yeah, like Aiden O'Connell ain't going to see the light of day for as long as Brian Hoyer is healthy and able. So yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, if you have that comparison to Nick Foles, then when I always think of Nick Foles, the biggest thing I always think of is the cannon, like big time arm. Does this guy from Purdue have that kind of big time arm?
Oh, I didn't, to be honest, I can't remember that far back, but it
Ooh.
must not have blown me off the page. So like
Okay.
it was a lot of like interceptions. That's one thing that just blew me up that I could remember is just like bad throws. Like he would read
Gotcha.
the right spot and then it would just be like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't get to where it was supposed to go, so we're good."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer when you're getting that out of a guy that you draft and you expect to at some point take over and be the franchise. Um, so yeah, that's going on there. The other team that really
Yeah.
got decimated by injuries was Denver. So today, KJ Hamler, who's been fighting back, working real hard, tore his ACL last season and was probably going to be ready to go this year, just pretty much tore his Achilles. So he's out. And then
Oh,
KJ
no.
Hamler, yeah. So KJ Hamler has something. It's like a heart lineage tissue, something or other going on. And they felt that it would be more of an advantage that they could release KJ Hamler for non-football injury matters and do that than putting him on a designated list that essentially makes him unavailable to play the entire season if they do that. So they've lost two pretty important receivers that aren't Cortland Sutton today. So that's a big hit for Sean Payton, who's he's had a rough few days, and then you have that plus Russell Wilson really trying to work his way with this new offense that Sean Payton has. So those are two young guys that I liked. I liked that future of Denver's offense, but now it's pretty much Cortland Sutton and and Greg Dulcich. That's another returning piece from last year. That's pretty good. But beyond that, it's going to be tough really solidifying who that receiving core
So
is.
I don't know if I heard you. It was KJ Hamler and who was the other guy?
Uh, yeah, it was KJ Hamler and man, who now I'm blanking on the other guy. Let me take a look here. Uh,
It wasn't Jerry Judy, was it?
No, and actually, that's a good point. They still have Jerry Judy, so
Yeah.
that's actually really really good. So yeah,
Was
they
it
have
Mims?
Judy. No, no, it wasn't
Mims? No.
Mims. Um, yeah,
Tim
let me
Patrick.
see what. Yes, Tim Patrick.
Tim
Yep.
Patrick. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just about to pull up our fantasy depth tracker on no debate sports.com. So yeah, right there you can pretty
Oh
much tell
man.
your lineups
I
like that.
I had to sit here and think about Broncos' terrible wide receivers. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Totally
You
kidding.
did. You
But
did.
speaking of terrible takes, though, did you hear
Okay.
about Sean Payton and how he bashed the coach for the Jets,
I
Nathaniel
did,
Hackett?
and yeah, and the interesting thing was I remember during the winter seeing Sean Payton on Colin Cowherd's show, and he was a guest multiple times, multiple weeks on the Herd, and multiple times before he got the Denver job, he pointed out that yeah, this is a very poorly run team, and especially with how they're not able to get a play in time, how they had no clue how to utilize their timeouts. Um, I mean, I was hearing people clamoring for his job like within like I think it was the first week or the second week of the season. They were saying how bad of a job he did. So I mean, I heard that Sean Payton pretty much 40 minutes after he made those statements said that he pretty much regretted them. But knowing what I know out of Sean Payton, what I've seen, who I've seen on TV, seen the personality he is, I think that's something where it's like, hey, if you're going to go all out like that and say it, and that's who you are, you got to stand by it. It's I just really don't like seeing him now back trail on something that truly was true. I mean, it was a terribly run team, but you're Sean Payton. You have the cojones, you have the credentials to say that kind of thing. Stand by it. And if you can't stand by it, then don't say it to begin with. So there's a lot of work that has to be done in Denver for sure. But either you call it out and you call a spade, or you don't say that comment in the first place. So that's what I take from it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. The biggest takeaway I took from it was I love that Aaron Rodgers stood up for his boy, and he was like, "Hey, no, don't talk about my guy over here. Pay attention to your own terrible team, and then let us know what happens." And I was like, "Ooh, you cannot give." And this is one of the things I love about it. Aaron Rodgers, like I know people say he's a little smug and kind of full of himself and whatever. I mean, 4 MVPs kind of makes you that way, and to be one of the greatest throwers of the football ever. But uh, in Green Bay, he was kind of hushed a lot, where it's Green Bay, like, nobody says
Right.
anything up there. It's all there's no owner, it's just pretty chill. Now that he's in New York, I love that there's a microphone in front of him all the time, and the fact
Yeah.
that he's on Hard Knocks breaks my soul so much, because he's like he just says whatever he wants, and they they played a clip of him, breaking down a huddle with guys, and he's just like, "Yeah, just eat lunch with different people every day and just get to know everybody." And I'm like, this is awesome. You can just hear this guy just talking, and it's like, this is who Aaron Rodgers is. He's a pretty chill dude. He doesn't get worked up
Right.
about much. He goes and does you know his retreats in the middle of nowhere, and he smokes his uh, whatever nonsense, like, that's just him, and he's chill. And, like, I hope
Yeah.
people are starting to realize, like, that's just Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the big takeaway from that is when it comes to like what you said about being smug and having the credentials to back up what you say. I mean, the same kind of personality I see with Sean Payton. Aaron Rodgers has that personality in that moment, so it's more like fire button heads with fire in a way that they both have the legitimacy to say what they said, and it is what it is, and 5 weeks into the season, they will be playing each other. So that game is going to have a lot of added intrigue going into it. And it will be interesting because it will be in Denver. Denver will have that home field advantage. Green Bay um, last played the Broncos 4 years ago, and I'm not sure exactly where that location was. But it will definitely be new territory for Rodgers playing out there, and how that elevation impacts that whole New York Jets team. We'll see. I mean, it's probably a lot of young guys who are used to playing in the South at sea level, so it'll be a lot. But when you play those games with added motivation, usually the team with that motivation does come out on top. So that's going to be real interesting. I mean, already the Broncos are hurt, and even their one returning rookie running back from last season, Javonte Williams, tore his ACL. So now it's Samaje Perine, who I like. I think he's a great running back, but yeah, you've lost two receivers, a running back, coming back from an ACL injury. Had a rough go around with your highly paid. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough for the Broncos and them to start this season. And if they ain't starting so hot, that Week 5 game against the Jets could really, really be a moment of truth and kind of a wake up to reality with how good that team or how bad that team truly is.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably gonna get torched, to be honest.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you Aaron Rodgers with motivation is one of those things you don't mess around with. He
Yeah.
might be, low profile and, chill and whatever, but, like, if you give him any type of motivation, I mean, the dude literally got so upset with a coach that told him he would not make it to the NFL and, like, held that literally his entire life. And then, getting passed up by every single team and the 49ers who said they were gonna take him, and they took Alex Smith.
Yeah.
He held that
Yep.
against Alex Smith forever. And he would tell
Yep.
anyone that would listen. And it was like, "Oh, do you have some hatred for that?" "Well, they passed me up."
Yeah.
"Okay." Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Look at the
Absolutely.
Bears, Bears fans talking all that nonsense, and he goes up and he goes, "Oh, I still own you," like, to the crowd. And it's just like, yeah, yeah, can't do that to some people.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, now I've definitely since the last few weeks that we've been live here, it really feels like now with kind of how things are kind of shaking out in the AFC. I mean, you have Justin Herbert coming back from injury. You have Joe Burrow who just went down to injury. Um, you have the Bills who have been one of these defensively oriented, known for being defense week in, week out. Well, they sent their best defensive player to the Bears in Tremaine Edmonds. So now there's holes there. And we've seen Jalen Ramsey just go down with the Dolphins. Granted, Vic Fangio is there, and there's a lot of belief that that defense is really going to take a step forward. But there's definitely an opening now for the Jets. If they can land Dalvin Cook, that to me is a true game changer. That basically solidifies your run game as well as it was last year when Brees Hall was at full strength, getting 3.5 yards per carry before contact. That's the offense that I see. Their offensive line has gotten healthier, so those pieces are back. That's a team that's starting out of the gates. I mean, they have a very tough run, but boy, if they could go like 3-2 out of those first 5 games, or possibly even 3-3 in the first 6, they're really going to be set up for success. And I think it goes back to what you pointed out a few weeks ago that if they just do a little bit better from what they did last year, stay on the field just a little bit longer, like 5 minutes longer average per game than what they did last season, that's going to pay dividends to the defense and really make that defense shine. And we already know that like Sauce Gardner basically ranked probably like the number 2 corner behind Trayvon Diggs on all the highest important metrics that a corner can be measured at. So you got some really good things going for the Jets. Plus, it's Robert Saleh, so you know he's going to run a good defense. So to me, I think there is an opening for the Jets to definitely get that one of those other playoff spots, possibly even win the division. And to me, I think the AFC is really starting to show that there are opportunities for teams, and that maybe this conference isn't as crazy top heavy or like top to bottom, like 12 teams deep, like everyone was saying, that it is. I think we're going to see this year that you're going to see the AFC kind of come back to normal, and maybe it's about 8 or 9 teams that are kind of good. And to me, at this point, now I think the Jets can absolutely do that should they land Dalvin Cook.
I mean, even with Dalvin Cook out there, hopefully, I mean, they have a spot for him. Their backup running back spot is pretty horrible. But Zach Wilson, he literally threw like 1,000 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had 26 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions with nearly 4,000 yards, and that was his down year. So I mean,
Yep.
there's no way he's gonna play as bad as Zach Wilson. So
No,
like
not at
he
all.
tripled his numbers, quadrupled his numbers. So like that's the one key I give the Jets is like they were a top 5 defense most of the year. So now those guys aren't going to be on the field because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to turn the ball over. That's just not the way he plays.
Yep.
So like they're going to get their rest and they're going to be able to pin the ears back and just go for blitzes and like that'll be a scary defense. If you're down to the Jets, let's say Rodgers comes out launching touchdowns right out of the gate and you're down to the Jets, like that's going to be a problem, an absolute
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're down 14-0 against that team and a team that has Dalvin Cook, a team that has Brees Hall, a team that has a healthy offensive line that can run block, that's going to be tough to come back from. Like 14-0, 17-0, and especially if you're one of these teams that doesn't have an elite bona fide quarterback of like one of the top 7 guys that we can all think of off the top of our heads, then that's probably going to get you a win. I just think the Jets are that built at this point, and they have the familiarity of the players that Rodgers has brought over, plus Hackett running the offense. It's going to work. I heard too with Hackett running as an offensive coordinator for Rodgers. Rodgers had essentially the best stats in the NFL during each of those seasons. So maybe Hackett's not a head coach, and there's plenty of guys out there who aren't.
Mhm.
But Hackett as an offensive coordinator is a totally different animal, as are most of these coaches who didn't make it as head coaches, but then they become a Steve Spagnuolo and run a defense and end up getting 2 Super Bowls in their tenure being a defensive coordinator. So it is what it is.
Yeah, like that's one of the things when Rodgers was taking up for Hackett towards Peyton. He said like Hackett's one of the most fun coaches and probably the best coach he's ever had because he teaches him stuff in a different way instead of just
Sure.
pounding it down his throat. He kind of like breaks it down to Rodgers in the Rodgers way. And like
Gotcha.
anything I know of, like with coaching, I mean, I don't coach major players, but like with coaching little league and middle school basketball and stuff like that, like some
Yeah.
players need that. They might be the best player ever, but they need it taught to them a certain way, and you have to speak to them a different way. Where you're like, hey, this is how we break this play down. This is how we do this. This is where I need your mechanics. And Rogers must really love what Hackett does because he's literally vouched for him in Green Bay. He vouched for him when he got his job in Denver, and now he vouched for him to come over here to New York. So, I mean, the guy's got a
Yeah.
job for life with Rodgers, you know?
Absolutely. And seeing what I saw in the clips they were showing from Jets training camp over the weekend, I saw Nathaniel Hackett clearly pointing out different things to Rodgers, coaching him up, and Rodgers being receptive, like any other player you'd see being coached by whoever's running that offense. Kind of like what I've seen somewhat recently of like Bill O'Brien coaching the receiving core for the Patriots and basically cussing a guy out saying like, hey, I don't care how good you were in college. This is how we run things in New England. That's kind of the same tone that I got from seeing Nathaniel Hackett coaching Rodgers over the last few days, that Hackett really gets to him. He definitely knows how to coach him and how to get the best out of Rodgers, and does it in his way. So it definitely looked different. It didn't look like Rodgers kind of Mike McCarthy-ish, where like I know more of the offense than you do kind of thing. This definitely looks more like this is a team effort. This is a it's a partnership. It's a true partnership between Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's really going to grow and develop. And like I was pretty, I was definitely opposite you of thinking how the Jets' success was going to be this season, but now it just really feels like things are coming together. The thing that happened over the last few days that I thought was interesting was Garrett Wilson did have an ankle injury. So to me, that's one thing I would kind of keep my eyes on. Is I think that is probably another thing for them to upgrade at, and possibly, I don't know who or what it would incur, but like try to bring in a player that Rodgers is familiar with that could give you that added boost if you lose a Garrett Wilson. And a player to me that kind of comes to mind that checks off those boxes and is currently on a team that really isn't all that excited about that player is the Chiefs. And that player is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think that's a guy that, let's say, like Devontae Adams and the Raiders, they figure it out. But I could kind of see a MVS thing kind of working out where maybe he doesn't really work out that well with the Chiefs. We know they are seeing more out of him, or what they're seeing is they're seeing more out of Sky Moore in the slot, and they do really, really like their pick, Rashi Rice, something like that, from Southern Methodist. So I know they got two receivers they like. There's that other guy who I'm blanking on. He's kind of like he's like a miniature Travis Kelce that plays wide receiver for them. Don't know the guy's name, but like that guy played really well. Basically runs go routes, and he's a really good receiver for the Chiefs. So I feel like those are kind of the three guys that they might go with. I mean, for a team to basically cut ties with Mecole Hardman, I pretty much feel like the Chiefs, if they have receivers that they just know aren't going to work, they're going to let them go. They're going to let them go to another team and figure it out. So I like MVS is a very fast and a very lengthy kind of receiver. Like that's the perfect combinations you want in a receiver, in my eyes. But neither of those combinations are working out with him, whether it was with Packers or with the Chiefs. But I feel if that guy could have another shot with Rodgers and the Jets, possibly not playing as many routes, but maybe coming on the field when Allen Lazard comes off, that could be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs got Kadarius Toney over there too, so they've got enough guys where they can get the ball out there. They got speedy kind of scat back kind of slot guys just everywhere.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
I don't know if you saw the viral video of what is it, like Justin Ross? Uh, man, he took a DB and just shook the life out of this dude. I mean, in the video, he literally shook the guy on his route tree so bad that the guy like flew out of the video. Like he's off screen.
I,
It, it's pretty funny.
so that would be like a Justin Ross, like the guy who was breaking the 40-yard record back at the combine. That Justin Ross, or actually, wait, no, that is the guy's name that I'm thinking of.
Yep.
Yep, yeah, that
From
guy's.
Clemson. Yep.
Yes,
Six
yeah,
foot
Justin
four,
Ross.
210.
Oh, wait a minute. No, this is a different guy. No, that's the guy that I do like from the from way back when, who's been coming back from a spinal injury. That's a guy who I thought like before his injuries occurred, I thought that's a guy who could truly
Yep.
become possibly the greatest wide receiver ever. He has those MVS qualities, but he also has like the grab of like a Devontae Adams, or to me, he really reminded me of Keyshawn Johnson. Like that's a talent that guy has. He has a little bit of
Yeah.
like Larry Fitzgerald in him. Boy, yeah, like you're spot on. If Justin Ross is healthy and he's working it, that's special. That's a really special guy they got there in Kansas City, and I would really love to see that guy succeed, considering everything that guy's gone through. But yeah, like him and Trevor
Oh,
Lawrence, like they had
I'll,
something, man. Like that, they definitely won national titles from that combination.
I'll send you the video. The dude, I
Okay,
mean, his route running was so on point. Like he shook this dude off the screen. It was that bad.
Wow.
And then caught the ball.
Wow.
And the reason why the video went viral, he had time after he shook the dude so bad. He had time to wipe his hands on his towel before he caught the ball. Like
Oh
midair,
my.
wipes his hands on his towel, catches the ball, and he's just like, I'm good.
That's insane. Yeah, that's pretty insane. There was I saw another video on Twitter of a really cool catch. It was one-on-ones, but there was like this juke move that Bijan Robinson made where he made a juke and then he goes out, and a lot of these guys, I mean, they'll make a one-handed catch because they want to be the next OBJ. They want the clicks and everything. But Bijan Robinson actually had to go all out and make a one-arm grab as best as he could. I mean, he caught it, he dove, put his whole body out there to make the catch, and in doing so, he got it. But that was pretty cool. I take it Justin Ross's video was flat out like 7-on-7s kind of thing. Like we're talking like live bullets flying out there.
I'm sending it to you right now as we speak.
Okay.
It's on Instagram.
Cool.
Like,
Gotcha.
I mean, he shook the life out of this dude.
Okay.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. So
like I need to see your reaction because I just want to.
Oh my goodness. Yep. And I think that is yeah, it's hard. Boy, it's hard to tell if that is 7 on. I think that's 1-on-1s. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's 1-on-1s. And like he literally just sends that guy. Like he makes a play, kind of pushes up on that guy's shoulder, and he is gone.
It's gone.
Just gone. Yeah, like Justin Ross. I mean, man, I love that guy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard seeing him as a Chief being a Raider, but like I've always loved Justin Ross since seeing him at Clemson, and was hoping he would be with the Jaguars if that was the case. But no, him and the Chiefs. Like I hope that turns out to be something special.
I just love that he wipes his hands before.
Yeah, he does.
Like the ball's in the air, he's like, quick wipe. Here we go.
Oh, totally. Yep. He's like, bam, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna make this catch. Speaking of that, there's a low light video out there I saw of Kyle Pitts. I think it's Kyle Pitts, and I think Desmond Ritter's thrown it to him. And I want to, yeah, it is 7-on-7s. And basically, Desmond Ridder puts the ball in a good place where the size of Kyle Pitts is just amazing. I mean, this guy is basically the next prototype of Darren Waller. And that ball is put up high away from the corner covering him, but it's in a space that's good enough for a guy of that caliber to make the catch. And it just goes off his hands. He tries to catch it again, drops it, nowhere close to catching it. It looked awful, like really, really bad for Kyle Pitts. And I mean, I'll be honest, I've seen the tape of him at Florida, and he's got a lot of stuff that is viral. But man, ever since Kyle Pitts has been a Falcon and in the pros, and granted their offense has not been what it is now, I have not been a Kyle Pitts fan at all. He doesn't stay healthy, and he doesn't make great plays. And yeah, I mean, you're like the one good focal point of the offense, but even then, you're a tight end. You should get the mismatches that should allow you to dominate. Maybe not dominate as frequently as the TJ Hawkinsons and Travis Kelce's of the world, but you should be able to dominate at some level. And Kyle Pitts has just never done it. I mean, people were talking about him of like, man, if you don't get Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, go straight for Kyle Pitts. And I never bought that take ever last season with fantasy football or whatever people were saying for his rookie year. I don't think Kyle Pitts is good. I need to see him be a good football player before I ever consider drafting that guy highly, or let's just begin with like drafting the guy at all. Like there's rookies in this upcoming season for tight ends. I would take all of them before I take Kyle Pitts.
Wow, that's intense. That is intense.
Absolutely.
I mean,
maybe it's a hot take, but
I'm with you there. I mean, I don't think he's as good as people give him credit for. Especially, I mean, he hasn't put up the numbers. He's not giving you much of anything close to Kelsey or Andrews or guys like that. I mean, even Waller at one point. Like I I don't know. They've removed all their wide receivers, so he's kind of the only guy there besides Drake London. But like, and he still doesn't get the job done. So I
Yep.
don't know. It's kind of just boring to watch, especially because he has so
Yeah.
much potential. Yeah, he got 1,000 yards the first season, but like I would say he probably missed half of his passes, half of his like receptions in his area. I just want to look it up really
Right.
quick. Yeah, 68 receptions out of 110 targets. So
Yeah.
it's not.
And
It's like a little bit more than half in his first season, and then his second season was horrible. 28 catches
yep.
for 400 yards.
Yep. And I remember too when Mariota was with us with the
3
Raiders
touchdowns in
and
2
he
years.
played. Yeah. And I remember when Mariota was with us with the Raiders, his number one target was Darren Waller. So you bring Mariota to the Falcons, he's going to eye Kyle Pitts pretty hard. So if you're not making those catches, it's on you. Because Mariota was able to hook it up to Darren Waller pretty efficiently. So yeah, right there, what you just laid out kind of tells me that Kyle Pitts is, yeah, he's a bus guy. Like he's the guy you want coming off your bus. Not sure he's the guy you want going in onto the field for you.
I
Yeah.
mean, 6'6", 250 pounds. Like he's like the size of a linebacker, but I
Yep.
don't know. He's missing something.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, he is missing something there, and I think that's good that the Falcons ended up getting Mac Hollins because to me, in the games last year with the Raiders, where Darren Waller missed quite a few games to start the season, I thought Mac Hollins was the tight end. I never knew until the first month that he was a wide receiver. So maybe they might have to lean on Mac Hollins to do what he did with the Raiders, where it's like, hey, if Pitts ain't cutting it, you might have to be that de facto tight end who's actually out there making plays. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But to me, that really takes away some of that firepower that I thought the Falcons were going to have, where it's going to be like, man, you got three big targets out there who should all be able to make plays on any given Sunday. But man, you scale that back to one, and now, or scale one of those back, and now you're left with two big targets. Well, I mean, I remember way back in the day with the Buccaneers when they had Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans was just starting his career, and you basically went out there with two big receiving targets, and it really didn't work well. And that was when they started to focus on speed with like Deshaun Jackson and eventually drafting Marquise Godwin. So it really, or Chris Godwin. That's when it really developed into what it was. So yeah, like there's definitely something not going quite right with Atlanta right now on that receiving game. So see what it is. But yeah, I think we're
I
looking
mean,
pretty good for a show today.
right.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that like
Yeah.
Atlanta, just looking at their depth chart is pretty sad too. I mean, they got Drake London, Matt Collins, Scotty Miller, and then that's it. Like, I can't tell you any
Yeesh.
like Frank Darby, Penny Hart, uh, Chris Blair, Josh Ali. I don't know who any of these guys are. Like, and that's
No,
saying
not at all.
something.
And like, yeah, and the other guy they had
No
who
offense to
was
those
kind of
guys.
playmaker. No, not at all. But it's all reasonable. I mean, the other guy they had who ended up taking Scotty Miller's place was Olamide Zacchaeus, and I think he ended up going to either like Philadelphia or Chicago. I want to say, and he's one of those slot guys who can make big plays for you. And Olamide really started to develop really good chemistry with Desmond Ritter at the end of last season. So it's kind of a bummer to see what's going on. But you're spot on. Like that receiving group, man, they lose one or two guys, they're in real trouble. Yep. So, what you got behind you today? What game you got?
Oh, let's throw a random one at you.
Okay.
Bum, bum, bum. Because of all this nonsense that we've been having between teams and coaches and players and
Yep.
people getting hurt, I mean,
Yep.
the Indianapolis Colts told their own player, like, "Oh, if you're faking an injury, you're not getting paid." I'm gonna call this. This is called. Wait, hold on. Let me flip my settings here.
Okay.
I always forget that I have a touch screen, and then sometimes I touch it and I flip things by accident. Whoops.
Oh.
It's called road rage. Road rage. Right.
Okay. Is this like a Mad Max?
Everyone's got so much rage.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
That's pretty much it
it's
these
like
days.
motorcycles and beating up people, but there's so much
Okay.
rage in the NFL right now. The players don't have contracts. I mean, running backs and wide receivers just getting cut all willy-nilly. Guys not getting money. The running backs trying to go on strike. It's just rage everywhere. That's what we're calling it.
Exactly. There's rage everywhere. What doesn't have rage is my belt. And I went back to the well because I got this yellow blue color scheme going on, and I went with speaking of Scotty Miller, I went with Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo.
So exactly. Try to lighten up the mood with all that rage. Get it light and
Yeah.
spunky with Scooby Doo. So yeah, gotta go with
Nice,
Scooby Doo
nice.
belts. Yeah, I was walking my neighbor's dog earlier today and this afternoon, and I'm walking down the sidewalk and past this lady, and I don't know what it was, but yeah, she laughed. So maybe it was the Scooby Doo belt, maybe it was me and the dog I was walking, but yeah, got a little chuckle. So yeah, maybe it was Scooby Doo.
I mean, I'm more of a Fred guy myself. More of a Fred guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely like the shenanigans that Shaggy and Scooby end up pulling. I can relate to those guys. Like if there was something wonky going on, yeah, I'd be more like with Scooby. That's kind of how I see it. Yep. So cool. So
That's
yeah, we got a lot
understandable.
of
I got you.
yeah, exactly. So got a lot of stuff done today. Got some more things we'll roll out tomorrow. We'll see what stories develop over the nighttime and see what we can make up for tomorrow. So we'll be back at you same time tomorrow, 7 o'clock Central here in the Midwest and the Great Lakes. So with that, I'm
Wait a
Steve
minute. Wait.
Metrics. Oh, what you got, pal?
Wait. Before we leave, I will tell
Okay.
you right now, if the Brewers do not trade, I know we don't talk baseball very often, but if the Brewers do
Yeah,
not make a
I got
trade
nothing.
for a bat by the end of tomorrow's the trade
Okay.
deadline. You
Okay.
may not see me because I may have a heart attack.
Oh, I was kind of hoping you would just kind of like be protesting, kind of like these running backs. Make a sign that says you need to trade for a bat, Attica, kind of thing. So
I
yeah,
might.
maybe you'll be out there on the picket line.
I might.
There you go. That's some
I'll
good
throw
stuff.
some things. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, just don't throw it at Cardi B because then she'll throw a microphone back at you. So you gotta be ready for that. So yeah,
What?
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah. That was a big pop culture news. She was at a concert and she may have asked someone because it was so hot to throw up like a beverage so she could cool down, kind of thing. But apparently someone threw like alcohol at her and she got pissed and she took her microphone and just threw it right back at him. So yeah, that's Cardi B. Like you're gonna get what you get from her. So I like it. There you go. That's good stuff. So a little more behind the scenes of who we are and what we got here at No Debate Sports. So now you know the fun parts of Steve M3TR1CS and DJ TRIGGS. So there you go. Yes, sir. So
Boom.
Yeah. Boom. Cool. So yeah, again, 7:00 tomorrow, Central here. We'll see you guys. We'll figure some stuff out. Try to get a little more fantasy football. Get you something ready for because tomorrow's August, and August is definitely fantasy football month. So gotta be all in, all ready for that. So yeah, I'm Steve M3TR1CS. That's your boy.
It's your boy DJ TRIGGS.
Yep.
Pointing the wrong way. Point.
Oh, I am pointing the wrong way?
Stop pointing at me.
Oh, so this is the right way?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
There
we go. Cool.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. And together we're No Debate Sports, and that's No Debate.
No debate.